Welcome to the beginner's tool for Cisco Packet Tracer. Quickest way to find the download link is to just Google Cisco Packet Tracer and you'll get to Cisco Network Academy, who host the software, all the instructions. They actually give you a training course, like a beginner's introduction, also various features such as Internet of Things, so well worth taking those courses also. This is just a quick get you started and give you a familiarization tour of the packet tracer. So you'll click on the link. Now you'll need to open an account. It's free to get an account with Cisco.com and Cisco Network Academy. That gives you access to the software and also all of their tutorials, and there's lots of other goodies that you can look at in your own time. So you'll enroll. If you've already done that, as I have, you can just log in then to the Cisco Network Academy. You don't get access to the Network Academy training courses unless you're a member of Cisco Network Academy and taking their CCNA or CCNP courses. Now once you've logged in, you'll be able to access the software and all of the download instructions. Obviously read the download instructions and find out which is the correct version that you'll need for your software version, and also if you're running a 64-bit or 32-bit version of Windows. I'll skip the download because I'm sure you're familiar with how to click on software and how to download it. And further down here you can see the information about the Packet Tracer beginners courses, and I'm sure there's some other stuff there that they'll offer to sell you if you're interested in doing any paid training. So I've downloaded the software, and every time you start it from your desktop, you'll be required to log in. You'll use the same account, password and login that you had for your download. Alright, so this is the canvas here. This is the area where you're going to be dragging any devices. You can click on a logical or physical. You'll normally spend most of your time on logical. And as with most software, you've got a menu with various options at the top here. We're only going to go into a couple of these options. You can go through those in your own time. Now down the bottom you'll see various icons, and each one you click on will give you a different selection of devices. For example, I'm on the routers and switches, and I can click on any of those for desktop PCs, for cables, your folders, types of WAN connections like frame relay. And as you click on each one, you've got a subset of devices that you can also click on. You're going to spend probably most of your time up here on the routers and switches. This gives you access to the routers, switches, hubs and wireless devices. Look at any device that you fancy and then you can drag it onto the canvas here. It has the device name and the model also. This says 1941, which is the model of Cisco router. Now if I go up to options and then preferences, I can actually tick what I'd rather be shown. For example, if I do or don't want the device names or the model labels, I can tick off. There's no save button, strangely enough, so you'll quit out of it, and you can see the model number has now disappeared. I personally like to keep it on. You choose whichever is right for you, but I like to know what devices I'm configuring. Sometimes if you've got lots of devices, the desktop can get a bit messy. Now when you click on it, you will see a physical version of the device as if you actually had it at home, and you can see I've got some blank slots here. I've got some ports for connecting Ethernet and gigabit modules and connectors. Now I've dragged up a different device, another Cisco device, but a different model. These will all look at the Cisco website if you want to see what they all do and what they're all for. You can see this actually has blank slots. So this is a modular router that you need to decide what type of modules you want. I've turned the power off by flicking the button or pressing it, and you can see you'll click on any of these modules and you can actually drag them straight to the desktop. Whatever you click on appears in the bottom right also, and you can drag the icon of the device over to the correct slot. It will only fit in the slot it's designed for, so the last slot here, the fast Ethernet module, wouldn't fit into the one before, wrong size, and it's not designed to support that particular module. Now you can click on config and you can do some basic configuration if you so wish. I don't recommend you use that particular facility. It's quite basic and you can't do much. I've changed the display name to HQ router. You've got interface, device, type of routing you can configure, a whole bunch of stuff there. And you can also change the IP address and subnet mask. This is handy for devices that have no configuration capability. For example, if you're configuring an IP address on a lamp for the Internet of Things. That's covered in the 101 Network Plus Labs. Alright, so you can see there's a configuration being applied even though I didn't go into the router command line interface, it just did it through the options box at the top. So I've got the physical view of my device here. I'll just move it so we can get a nice view. If you go to options and preferences at the top, you can change a few things. One of the things you may want to change to suit your particular taste and how your eyesight is. Obviously, some of us can see better than others. You can make the font larger size and you can change the font type also. So I've changed it to Korean New. I'm going to change the iOS background to green. It won't look very nice, but I just wanted to demonstrate how you do it. Quit out that window, and then when you click on the CLI, which is the command line interface, you can see it's very bright green with a black background. I don't particularly like this. I'm sure you don't either. So we'll just take that back to the default, which is a white background with black text. So I'll just resize my command line window. And what we'll do is connect our devices together. You can see the lightning arrow here. It gives you all your cable options. You can automatically choose. You can see down the right it changes as you hover over each cable. And you, from whatever theory book you've read, need to know which cable to plug in. I'm going to use a clock rate on this left hand side. So this would be my internet service provider. And on the right, I will have it as my office router that doesn't have a clock rate. So to get rid of the clock, the cable device connector there, I've pressed escape. And what I want to do is connect a WAN module to my router so I can connect a serial cable. So I'll choose the WIC 2T here. And I'll just drag it. Which slot you drag it into is your choice. Depending on which slot you choose, it will have a different name. For example, serial 0/1 or serial 1/0. You can read Cisco's sales website for more information on that, or read any Cisco study guide. If you hover your mouse over the device, you can see what the interfaces are, the IP addresses if you have any, the IPv6 addresses, and if the interfaces are up or down. So I'll go back to the cables and click on the clocked for the left, and I'll connect it to the serial end on the other side. If I tried to connect it to the serial, the fast Ethernet, I'd get an error. And you can see the little clock has appeared there. That means I need to add a clock rate to this side. I've just dragged up a layer 3 switch just to show you that it's a completely different physical view, and you can zoom in to see more information. We won't be using that at the moment. I can click on the little X up here and I'll just click no, but anything I click on now I can delete off the canvas. And then I've clicked back on the arrow on the far left. I'll drag up a switch, a 2960 from the canvas down here, and then as I go across I'm looking for the correct cable type. For example, this is a straight through cable, and I know from reading my study guides that this is the type of cable I want to connect a switch to a router. There's some end devices here. I'm going to choose a generic PC, and again I'll use a straight through cable to connect the PC through the fast Ethernet port to the fast Ethernet on my switch. You've got a physical view here. You can't actually see where the cable's connected on the diagram. It's just a physical representation of what it would look like if you had one locally. So I've clicked on the command line for my router here, the 1900 model. Initial configuration, you will always type no here, otherwise you're left with a menu of yes or no and enter various answers to questions and the router won't work properly. The first thing is I'll hit a question mark to see what my available commands are, and you can see there's not many here, so this means I'm in quite a limited mode. So I want to get out of this mode, and the command I will type is enable. That gets me from user mode to what's known as privilege mode, and I hit the question mark. If I want to scroll to the next line, I'll just press the spacebar, and there's a whole bunch of commands here, and you can see the command has changed from a greater than sign to a pound key. I'm going to use a show command here, then I'll hit the question mark again, and you see because there's quite a lot of options here, I get the more sign at the bottom, which means I can press the enter key or the space bar to see the next page. If I don't want to see any more, I'll just press the Q key. Now I've typed the letter V and hit question mark, and it's showing me every command that starts with the letter V. I can type out the one I want, or I can just type out some of the letters, hit the tab key, and it will finish off typing the command for me. It will do that if there's only one option that fits those particular letters that you've typed. I've issued show version, which tells me the software I'm running, the version, how much memory I have installed, when it was last reloaded and how, the license information. A lot of useful information here, and also the configuration register, which you'll cover if you're doing any CCNA level labs. Alright, config T, configure terminal means I'm going to do some configuration. I can type conf T for short. You can shorten all of the commands as long as it's the only available option for those shortened letters that you're using. Press enter. With the question mark, you can see all my options and the router's changed to config mode. I'm going to try and configure an interface now, so I'll type interface space question mark. Now I've got a lot of interfaces, but as you know, we've only got a cable connected to a particular interface. I know it's a serial interface, and I actually saw the name appear when I hovered my mouse over the device. To get out of the mode, you can type exit and it drops you back the next level. If you just want to get to the pound sign again, you type end. If I type show IP interface brief, it tells me all my available interfaces connected, if they're up or down, if there's an IP address, and some very basic layer 1 and 2 information. Now if I issue the show controllers command, it will tell me what type of cable I have connected. So I've issued show controllers serial 0/0/0. This says DCE. This basically means it's a clocking end to the cable, and I need to add a clock rate in order to synchronize the connection between this device and the other end. So interface serial 0/0, clock space rate, these are all my options. I'll just choose one of them. It doesn't matter because it doesn't actually affect the speed of the link, it's just the clocking of the link. Now I'm going to enter the IP address because I'm in config-IF, which means config interface mode. You need to type out the IP address, and I'll choose a simple one. And you need to add a subnet mask, 255.255.255.0. The no shutdown command is basically telling the interface to come up, it's to open up so it can pass traffic. Without that command, the interface will stay down. I'll change the host name. I've typed exit to drop down one mode, and I typed host name R1, and as you can see at the prompt, it changed from router to R1. So I've configured one side of the connection. I'll go over to the other side now, and I'll do the same thing, but I just need to miss off the clock rate command because this side of the connection, it's as if you're in a commercial office and you've installed a router and you're connecting to your internet service provider who's at the other side issuing the clock rate. Interface S0/0, and I know that's the available option because I can hover over the device. or I can type show IP interface brief at the router #. So I'm going to add the other address. It can't be the same address as the other side, so I'm just going to add the next one available in the subnet, 192.168.1.2, and I'll issue the no shut command. That's short for no shutdown, and that's saying now the interface has come up. I just tried a command here, but it doesn't work on Packet Tracer. You'll find it only really supports about 70% of commands you can use on live equipment. The show history command shows you the last 10 commands that you've entered. I've only entered 3 here, so you can see I hit the up arrow, down arrow, and I can scroll through all the commands. So this will save you time. If you have to type out a command that you typed just a few minutes ago or seconds, you just hit the up arrow. Show IP interface brief shows me my interface numbers. I actually clicked on one earlier in the menu system during the demonstration. So I'll go into interface F1/0, which is short for fast Ethernet 1/0. I'll type no IP address, which basically deletes the IP address off that interface. I wanted to do that because it's the IP address on the other side. The host name is now R2. That makes it easier for me to remember which device I'm configuring at this particular time. And then I'll ping 192.168.1.1, and this sends 5 ping packets, and I've got 5 responses. You can see with the 5 exclamation marks, and it says 100%. This is a very common command you'll be issuing on your network devices. Show start-config shows you what's in your memory on your router, your memory that retains all the information. Now if I issue the show run, this is in RAM, DRAM, so this is the live running configuration. If I want to save the running configuration into memory so it's stored, I'll issue the copy running-config space startup-config. I could issue copy run space start for short. Now if I issue the show start command, you can see my running config has been saved. So if I reboot the router now, it will boot with the IP addresses and any other configuration I've added. Now if you click on simulation mode, what this does, it shows you traffic crossing your network real time, and you can check all the protocols and services available in Packet Tracer. They add more as time goes on. Now you can edit the filters, so you can see ARP traffic, OSPF, RIP. We'll just do a quick demonstration with ICMP. You can tick or untick the protocols as you need them. So I've got ICMP ticked. What I'll do is I'll go in and issue a ping from one side to the other, and it will not start sending the ping packets until I press the little play button, as you'll see in a moment. So I'm over on the right hand side router, the HQ router. Sorry, I don't want to be in config mode, so I'll type exit. I'll type ping 192.168.1.1, press enter, but I haven't got a reply at the moment. That's because I'm in simulation mode, and you can see the little envelope there for the simulator that represents the packet, and then you can see the ping packet is sent, and then returned, a reply is returned. Over on the right you can double click any of the packets. It's all showing ICMP because that's all we ticked on to do our check-in, and you can look at the various layers of the packet through the OSI model. The little tick you saw in the envelope there just for a second means it was successfully sent and received. Alright, so that's just a quick look at the simulation mode. I'm going to drag up a server from end devices, And then on the cables, we'll connect the fast Ethernet to the first available port on our switch. Now I've clicked on the server and you get a different set of options. You get all the physical changes that you can make. You can also click on your Ethernet interface and other settings and add IP addresses. Services you probably won't need to worry about too much until you're doing labs for HTTP, and this server can act as a DHCP server, TFTP, DNS. You can turn it on or off and then enter your DNS records. syslog, security, network time, email, and you can see all the options here. Now depending on which lab you're doing and what you're trying to test, you will turn on or off different services. On the desktop you've got a bunch of different options there that you can do, for example command line. I'm going to go over to the PC and click on desktop. Here you'll do wireless configuration, a text editor, firewall settings. I'll just click on a command prompt and it will open up a Windows style command prompt in a moment. Typical command you would use, for example, is ipconfig or ipconfig /all. So our network's slowly growing, and as you get more confident, I'm sure you'll add more devices and do more testing. On end devices, I've just clicked down home at the bottom and you can see a bunch of different Internet of Things devices. There's a smart city which has a different set of options, industrial, and you can have card readers, speakers. I'll drag up a passive infrared motion detector and I'll drag up a lamp as well. If you've got 101 Network Plus labs, we show you how to program all this stuff using the Internet of Things. Now these devices can actually connect to your switch, so I'll click on cables and a straight through cable and I'll just connect it to the switch there. All these things can be programmed to come on or off and take various actions depending on how you code it all. Down here under end devices, or under network devices, sorry, you've got a load of different wireless devices. You can have access points, wireless LAN controllers, cell towers, home gateways. I'll drag up a access point and then we can connect it to our switch as if we were installing one at work. So I'll just click on the port and connect it to a free port. Now you can configure all of the devices with your SSIDs and passwords and authentication. I'll just drag up under wireless devices a wireless tablet, and then in a moment you'll see it connect to the access point with a wireless connection. Again, all this can be configured with a whole bunch of different parameters, and finally you can save your entire network, give it a name as a packet tracer file, and then come back to it later. So this has just been a real quick introduction for beginners. I hope to see you on our website. It's 101labs.net, or check out some of our books on Amazon. Thanks for listening.